Oh, Bruce, are you wearing a lederhosen?
Yeah, ever since I was a kid and saw The Sound of Music, I always wanted a pair. That was my joke. Okay.
But it looks so natural. It looks so natural on you. I didn't realize it first when you came with it. So,
Danke dir. It actually Hausbräuhaus Wunschken made me wear it.
Thank you very much. I will tell them. Bruce, so salute. So I think a lot of people are following you on Facebook and all this, and they know a lot about
Facebook?
you or whatever. You know, I have no idea.
I haven't been on Facebook
I'm not
in
following
years.
you and not following anyone, so I can do some naive questions, and maybe everyone knows everything about you, but so you can do it from my side. So I will come with a very personal question.
Louis, you asked me to hold the mic up.
Sorry. Okay. So good. Can you hear me? Okay. Bruce, a very personal question first. How are you?
Fine. You know, it's bizarre, you know. It's like, I feel like I'm in Wizard of Oz, because, you know, I love Berlin so much, and I spent so much time here, and I've made like probably 6 films here, and some theater productions, and so it feels like my second home in some ways, and this is the first time I've been here in 2 years, and it just feels like you wake up from a weird dream, and then you're back. And I mean, you can still tell the pandemic happened because everyone's still wearing masks, and you can't go, you know, to the basement of Ficken Dreishausen. But you know, it's really cool. When I showed, I just came from the Munich Film Festival where Narcisse played in competition, and I lost. And it was the first. Okay, the story was like
You're used to travel all the world with your movies for a long time, but this year, or with this movie, it was a kind of change. You went to Venice. That was like maybe a very special thing for you, or would you say it's usual?
No, that was amazing because the film was finished before the pandemic, like 9 months before the pandemic. But then we were in post-production when the lockdown happened. So we were about halfway through post-production, and we had to shut that down and leave it for like 2.5, 3 months. And then we went back to it in the spring of last year. And then we found out on the basis of a rough cut that we got into Venice, which is in early September. And the Venice Film Festival was the first festival after the first wave. It was the first big film festival that had opened up again. And so we were lucky. I mean, I went with my producer and my lead actor, Felix Antoine Duval, and my producer, Nicolas Comeau. We got to experience that bit of glamour, you know. It was still, I've been to the Venice Film Festival a number of times. I have a good relationship with them, but it was kind of a bit of like post-apocalyptic Venice Film Festival. There were not very many people there, but we were able to eat outside and like have cocktail parties, and a good-sized crowd came to see the film, and the ambassador, Canadian ambassador to Italy, came to this opening. So it was good. It was good for my actor, my lead actor, because he's known mostly in Quebec as a TV star, but he's not. He's never been to a big international film festival before, so I was really happy for him.
But so there was also Busan and a lot of like online festivals. How's it on an online festival? Do we also give interviews, or do we have audience talks? Or
yeah, I mean, according to my sales agent, BFF, the film has played at a number of quite a number of film festivals despite the lockdown. So playing virtually, so it's played at like 50. We played at 50 film festivals, and I was invited to go to Busan, for example, in South Korea, but I couldn't go. And played at Sitges virtually, and a lot of film festivals. So it did quite well. And yeah, they did. I quite often would do a Zoom introduction to the film for these international film festivals.
So you have several topics why you are in Berlin, like for coming to our nice cinema here, but also you will be at the Porn Film Festival tomorrow, you will have a book presentation. You want to tell us about these things?
Yeah, on tomorrow night at the Movimento, as a kind of promotion for the Porno Film Festival, there's a screening of Hustling Right at 8 o'clock at Movimento. So if you haven't seen the film, if you've seen it but you haven't seen it projected before, it's a new digital restoration. Well, it's not that new now, but when I had a retrospective at the Museum of Modern Art in New York, they did a digital restoration of my first 3 films, taken from the original negative and sound elements. So it's an amazing print. It's just like so pristine. It looks like the first time we ever screened it, and so I checked that out. And then one of the other things I did during lockdown was publish this book called Death Book from Baron Books, and it's basically it's a photo book that's a compilation of all my most extreme sexual and violent imagery. So trigger warning, and even though I don't believe in trigger warnings, and so it's on Thursday night from 5 p.m. to 8 p.m. at the AP bookstore in Reading. I think you have to, I don't know if you have to call ahead and reserve, but you definitely have to be double backed for that event.
Okay, we come to your movie, which we're going to see tonight. You already mentioned that it will be that it is a Canadian production. So isn't it a bit unusual? Usually you do German production or German mixed production. Has the view on the Canadian funding changed? The view on your films?
So this is, I don't know if any of you have seen my film Drophilia, which came out in 2012. Did we show it here?
Yeah, you were on a video, or we were in a video talk here.
So it showed at this very open air cinema, probably in 2013 or 14, and Lewis and I did a live kind of via Toronto, via satellite. I was here. And so it's the same producers and the same kind of way of financing I did for that film. So most of my films have been produced by Jürgen Bruning, who lives in Berlin, and but then I made a couple. I've started making some films with a Quebecois producer who, I couldn't get any financing in English Canada because they think I'm a freak and they will not give me any money at all. But Quebec is very, they're crazy there, so anything goes. So they actually went to Quebec and we got governmental financing, SODEC and Quebec Telefilm for the film. I mean, both films are my biggest budgeted films. They're both more narrative and sort of both more along the lines of a mainstream narrative film. And they were my biggest budgets, and also my first time working with union crews and casting crews. So it was great to try something different and something new. I tried to keep my same like crazy themes, which I usually have in my movie about fetish and perversions, but in a more kind of mainstream.
So coming to your movie, so we don't want to spoil anything from the story, but there might be things which were very interesting for you. You can know without knowing too much about the story. So like with the cast, with the monastery, we will see a monastery. Where was it?
Well, I'll tell a quick story about the monastery. So the film is about twins separated at birth who meet again in their early 20s, and a lot of crazy things happen. Let's put it that way. But when we were looking for locations for the film, we found this amazing monastery. It was huge. It was vast. Like I really thought it was even too big and grand for the scale of the movie. But we were going to shoot there, and we were really excited. and then we had to give them the script. And it was actually, the monastery was actually, is now owned by the government, but like the church, Catholic Church officially doesn't own it, but they still have control over the image of the church. And so when we even gave them an edited version of the script, and they still freaked out. And they said, and then they started spreading rumors that we were making, as they call it, a pedo film. And we got another location, you'll see, a beautiful location, this beautiful house in the middle of the woods, which was actually used in one of the X-Men movies. I think it was in Wolverine or something. And because that's where they shoot all the X-Men movies, in Montreal. And so the owner of that location said, he'd heard of those rumors. He said, oh, you're the pedophile. And he said, yeah, we said, do you want to read the script? And he was like, no, it's fine. Because, we're paying for him for 8 days of shooting at,
Can do what we want.
Yeah, you can do what you want, basically. So, but we did have a bad reputation.
I don't exactly when the film started.
And it's not a pedophile.
Does the movie start in Germany? Does it have a release date yet? I'm
Yeah, so the film is distributed in Germany by Profund, in Germany, Benelux, and Netherlands. And I don't think they have a solid date yet. I think they're talking about September. It's very difficult right now. My US distributor, Film Movement, is trying to get a spot to release it in the theater in New York right now, because you start out in New York and then go broader if the film does well.
And do you have an upcoming project, like another movie or another book?
I do actually have both. I wrote a script during lockdown, and I wasn't one of those irritating people who was like super productive during the lockdown. Not at all. I really wasted as much time as possible. Thank you. But I did manage to write one script with a friend, and I have, before the pandemic, I have two films attached to producers in development. One is with a Chilean producer who's actually here tonight, I hope. Are you here, Bruno? Okay. And so we're gonna go forward with that, and then I have another one with Jürgen and Sonia and Paula and Sonia, who are also here tonight. Are you here? Yeah. And it's a Mexican-German co-production. So the problem is, a lot of the countries now, of course, there's not as much money maybe to go around as there was before, and to make a film as a Canadian in these countries might be even more difficult. So we'll see. I mean, we're just waiting to hear about that. And then I have another photo book coming up, because during the pandemic, one thing I did was go through my archive of photos that have taken over the past 30 years, and so that I did the one book, and now I have another book called Fixations, which is a kind of survey of my photographic work, and also frame enlargements from my films, and over the past 30 years. So that should be coming out by the end of the year.
Okay, Bruce, thank you very much for coming here tonight.
Yay!
Hope to see your next movie here too, with your presence again. And thank you for coming, and thank you for being here.